Good evening, everyone. My name is Beth Borrego, and I am a Cruise Planners Travel Advisor. At Cruise Planners, we do more than just handle cruises, though. We handle custom tours and all-inclusive resorts and everything. And tonight, I've got two very special people here with me. I've got Santai from Kensington Tours and David Huffman, who is an expert photographer. And we have put together a trip to Africa, an African safari with Kensington Tours, and David Huffman as an expert photographer there to teach you and lead you and show you how to get the very best shots. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and very briefly just share my screen. Let's see if I can figure this out. Bear with me for one quick second. So I just wanted to take just a minute to say that we're very grateful to have Kensington Tours and Santai here tonight. We're also very glad that David Huffman is here to talk about photography and how it's going to play such a wonderful part of this African safari photography adventure that we've put together. And now, without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Santai to talk to us about this amazing African safari.
Thank you, Beth and David. Hi, everybody. My name is Santai from Kensington Tours, and we put together private travel itineraries for all our travelers. I'm originally from Kenya. I was born and raised in the Masai Mara. I've gone on many safaris, and this safari as put together will give you a great opportunity to see all the sights and sounds, especially the animals, the big five, and give you an opportunity to get plenty of pictures and memories to bring home. I prepared a small deck that I would like to share with you. Can everybody see that? Yeah. So the itinerary is 12 days long. We have you arriving into Nairobi, which is the main economic hub, and most flights are easy to get in and out of. 1 night in Nairobi, 2 nights in Amboseli, 3 nights in Ngorongoro Crater, 2 nights in the Serengeti, and 3 nights in the Masai Mara, and then you'll be back to Nairobi to catch your flights out. And so you'll be completing a big circuit. Looks like you'll be starting in Kenya and then crossing into Tanzania and then back to Kenya. And so just some of the highlights for you to remember as I go through the itinerary is you will always be a private group. You'll have your own vehicle and your own Land Cruiser. You'll have daily game drives at your own pace since you have your own private car and private Land Cruiser. And for game drives, the morning game drives usually start at 6:30 in the morning. Somebody will wake you up with a cup of coffee or tea, give you a warm blanket, take you to the vehicle, and then you head out for your game drive just before the suns come up. It's really beautiful watching the sun come over the African savanna or the Mount Kilimanjaro when you're in Serengeti. And you'll do your game drives for 2 to 3 hours, then come back to camp for a full breakfast, have a bit of alone time or low time when the sun is really hot and there's not a lot of activity in the game parks. And in the afternoon, just before the sun sets at about 3:30, you'll head out for your afternoon game drives, come back for dinner, and then celebrate and share the images that you'd have gotten. So that is a typical safari day. So I will not be going into detail in each of the days, but you'll just see the structure of the day. And on the first day when you arrive, we have a meet and assist service. Somebody will meet you as soon as you get into the Nairobi International Airport, walk you through customs, immigration, and hand you over to your driver guide who will just be outside of the terminal. So this service is included, it's complimentary, and all of you will receive it. On the first night, we have selected a hotel not too far from the airport, just in case you get in late. Most international flights arrive late. And so we have recommended 4 Points by Marriott. It's right at the airport. It's beautiful, clean, and you'll just be a few minutes from getting off the plane to getting into your room or having a hot meal. And it happens to be on the way towards Amboseli instead of going to downtown Nairobi or any other city hotels. You'll be on your way out to avoid the Nairobi traffic. For all your transportation, ground transportation in East Africa, this is a typical Land Cruiser vehicle safari that we recommend. It has a pop-up roof, so you can stand and take pictures. All the windows open fully. Even if you're sitting in front, you can still pop up and stand. So these vehicles can hold 6, 7, sometimes 8 people, including the driver. And so this will be a ride from day to day. On day 2, you'll be heading to the Amboseli National Park. It's to the southeast of Nairobi. It's a beautiful drive, about 4 hours. You'll get there by lunchtime, check into your rooms, refresh, have lunch, and then depart for your first afternoon game drive. And if you've seen any pictures of Mount Kilimanjaro at the background with elephants, it is probably taken in Amboseli. So you'll be here. You'll be staying at a lodge called Serena Amboseli, which is pretty well located with great views of Mount Kilimanjaro and has a watering hole right inside, outside the hotel. So even in your rooms, you'll be able to see game. And so dinners, all the meals are included here except the drinks. You'll go on your morning game drive, like I mentioned, starting at 6:30, come back for breakfast, have a bit of downtime, lunch, and then out for your afternoon game drives. And these game drives can be as long as you want. You do not have to hurry back to camp for anything. If you want to wait in the parks for something really exciting, you can take as much time as you wish. This is a typical room in Serena, and amazing views just from the veranda of one of the rooms. Then after 2 nights in Amboseli, you'll be heading over to Tanzania. So to get into Tanzania, you'd have to drive by road to the Namanga. It's called Namanga, the border town. Upon getting there, you will get your passports, get stamped out of Kenya, and then get stamped into Tanzania. At the border also, you'll be switching vehicles because tourist vehicles are not permitted to operate freely between the two countries. But it'll be the same type and make of Land Cruiser. Then you'll drive to Ngorongoro Crater. It's about a 4-hour, very scenic drive. There's a few national parks along the way, and you'll drive by the tourist city of Arusha, which is the main tourist hub for Serengeti and Ngorongoro area. And in the crater the following day, we have you doing 2 full game drives. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It has flamingos, rhinos, and all the big 5. And it kind of feels like all the animals are trapped. It's wide and it's big, and the drives in and out are exhilarating. So it's one of my favorite places to visit, and I'm sure you'll have lots and lots of fun and a great opportunity to get pictures, especially of birds. And we have you staying at the Ngorongoro farmhouse. This is a picture of the main building, pictures of inside the Ngorongoro crater. Look at all the flamingos and a picture of one of the rooms inside the farmhouse. After 3 nights in the Ngorongoro crater area, you'll be heading to the Serengeti. It is a scenic drive. It will feel like a game drive throughout. And we have you staying at a camp called Kubu Kubu Tented Camp. And it's pretty well located for this time of year because the migration will just be all departing the Kenyan side, the Masai Mara. It will still be ongoing in October. And Kubu Kubu Camp is central north located, so that if there's any exciting activity happening in any part of the Serengeti, it can easily be accessible by your safari vehicle. So again, you have your morning, evening game drives included. This camp is fully inclusive, including alcoholic drinks, and all the meals are included. Then after 2 nights here, so that's how the camp looks like aerially as one of the rooms, and some exciting attractions in the Serengeti. You can see the migration of tons of wildebeest and zebras there. From the Serengeti, you'll be crossing back through the Isibania border to the Masai Mara. This day can be a long day because of the drive time involved, but it's scenic, it's beautiful through the villages, the roads are paved, and will provide a tasty picnic lunch. You'll exit Tanzania, enter into Kenya. You don't need 2 visas to do this. You only need the one for Kenya, one for Tanzania. And by the afternoon, late afternoon, you'd arrive at your new home, the Serena Mara Safari Lodge. This is one of the best placed lodges in the Masai Mara for the migration. If you've seen pictures of the migration or tons of wildebeest crossing the Masai Mara River, it usually happens pretty close to the Serena Hotel. There's no other hotels that are closer to the migration than the Serena. Sometimes even when you're just having breakfast or your meals looking outside, you would see the crossing happening. So we hope that game drives here will be the highlight and a good ending to your safari. You'll be here for 3 nights, game drives every day, all inclusive except alcoholic drinks. And here are some pictures of the Serena Mara, the wildebeest that you can see. And then on your last day, we have you flying to Nairobi instead of driving. The drive from that part of the Masai Mara, the Serena, can be long to Nairobi. And so we have you flying. It's a short flight, 45 minutes long on bush planes, mostly Cessna Caravans. And when you get to Nairobi, we have transportation, we have optional activities, including souvenir shopping and meals. In the evening, we'll drop you back at the airport for your flights home. So the current entry requirements and things are changing pretty fast. The vaccination, you need a COVID vaccine. In absence, you need to test at least 72 hours before going. And tourist visas are required, and both for Kenya and Tanzania, you can apply online, but Kenya requires you to apply online, but Tanzania you can get on arrival. And to get into Tanzania, you need a yellow fever vaccination or just an exemption note from a physician on why not. That is it from me. And the pricing for the trip per person sharing based on 2 people is 10,680. And if there's any single travelers in the group, the price will probably go up slightly. So that is the information I've prepared for you. It's really exciting trip, and I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And okay, I am, once you have stopped sharing, then David, you can go ahead and share.
Okay. All right.
Tell us a little bit about your role as the expert photographer on this wonderful adventure.
Happy to. Okay. Now you could see my screen all right there?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, well, I really enjoy safari. You can see pictures from Kenya and Tanzania right behind me, and all across my website, which I'll share. I've been a professional photographer for 40 years, first 20 with Eastman Kodak. And today I love to teach and help people take better pictures. there are a lot of things a little bit different about photographing on safari. And if you haven't ever spent much time photographing wildlife, then you're in for a treat. But it does take some preparation, and I'm here to help you do that. This first slide, as you can see, you need to obviously understand the basic controls and settings. And what I'm going to talk about here assumes that you're using an adjustable camera. Now, it may or may not be something as big as this. This is the kind of cameras that I use as a professional because I want to get maximum image quality, and I use very long lenses. But there are also a lot of things you can do even with a smartphone to get great pictures on safari. In fact, I have a friend of mine who just returned, and she got some great pictures with her smartphone, and I teach how to do that too. If you're using an adjustable camera, you need to understand the whole list of things that I'm talking about there, and then some on this slide. From modes and controls, you need to understand the exposure triangle, we call it. And talking about aperture, shutter speed, and ISO to get a good exposure. All the kinds of things you do to set your camera and get good results. And many of the cameras today are capable of shooting not only stills, but very good video. So that's another thing that I focus on, is helping people understand the differences and how to toggle back and forth. It's very helpful if you're comfortable with your camera, and the only way you get comfortable is by practicing. Even I practice, believe it or not. And I take pictures almost every single day, but even I practice, because with the advent of digital photography, there are a lot more controls than you used to have with film photography. So it's important to understand your camera and to know what it can do and how to do it. With wildlife, you tend to use longer telephoto and zoom lenses to capture small animals and to shoot at a distance. I use lenses up to 800 millimeter when I go on safari. That doesn't mean you have to, but a zoom lens that reaches out to at least 300 millimeters for a full frame camera is a good idea. The telephoto lenses really require you to be on the top of your game to get more accurate focus and exposure settings, and to be able to reduce the camera and animal movement to get a good sharp picture. But I promise you can get great pictures with any camera you want to take, and I'm here to help you do that. Animals and birds have a lot of unique movements. If you've ever been to the zoo and you watch them kind of move through their areas, they have a repeatable pattern. And once you understand that also helps you capture the best pictures of them. Preparation is important. As a checklist, one of the things that I do is provide information to help people. People learn in different ways. Some people learn by doing, others by listening, others by watching. So I'm not going to go over all these points here, but I have checklists for wildlife, checklists for landscape photography, which is also terrific in the Mara and Serengeti. You get some wonderful, wonderful landscape pictures, and just general travel. We will probably visit a village where you're going to see the Maasai and get up close to them, and that's a real treat too. And that's more of a travel type of photography. So it takes a little bit of understanding of your camera in order to be able to move easily from one of those modes, one of those situations to another. You need to understand the autofocus modes, like for wildlife. In the 5th or 6th point down there, the continuous autofocus is important, as is continuous release. When you hear a guy like me behind you with a camera going, that means I'm shooting off a lot of pictures at a time. I use cameras that can shoot up to 120 still images in a second, because I want to get the peak motion, the peak movement. But you can do that with any camera to some degree. So I'm here to help you understand how to do that and to be with you when you're doing it. Here's an example of a picture taken at a relatively high speed. This was taken with a short telephoto lens. It's taken on an afternoon game drive. Suntai, you could probably recognize the sun getting down. That's why you've got light on the right side of the heads as they're running. But they're running, so you've got to photograph them. I was probably photographing around 1,000th of a second in order to get them nice and sharp. And I was panning. That's why the background isn't sharp, but they are. This was a very unique tower of giraffes. That's what you call a group of giraffes. They're called a tower. These are Rothschilds, which are rare. They came from way in the background. I just noticed some leaves as we were getting ready to leave. We'd already been in this location for about 30 minutes. I just noticed some leaves that were shaking, and I asked the driver to just wait a little bit longer. And as we did wait, all of a sudden we had this tower of over 30 Rothschilds, which are rare, come at us and surround us and walk right past us. It was very interesting. So, one of the things that teaches you is that you never know exactly what you're going to see on safari, and that's part of the adventure of it. If we visit a village, then they're sure to treat us to some of their local culture, and it's a lot of fun. It's really a lot of fun. The coaching that I provide, whether it's for safari or for anything else, is something I do day in and day out. I help people understand equipment. Maybe they're trying to think about changing equipment, different brands, different cameras, lenses, accessories, all the different types of photography that they may want to do. I coach on settings and photo techniques, composition, lighting, color, exposure, focus, all those sorts of things. I do that all the time. So whether you're interested in that kind of help for a safari or just in general, you'd like to get better with your camera, take a look at my email down at the bottom of this page and get on there and use the contact form to get a hold of me. I'm happy to help. I also have books for sale on Apple Books, basic photography, and I even have a video course. The book on the right is actually a video course to help people understand all the aspects of digital photography and settings and how to be more creative with their controls. I've traveled the world, 47 countries in climbing. And when I go to a new area, oftentimes I'll write a book. So these are some of my more recent books about Bali or New Zealand. And I have one that dates back to one of my first trips on safari in Eastern Africa. And this does cover some of the areas that we're going to be in Kenya and Tanzania. So you get a real good feel looking at these on your iPhone or your iPad or your Mac, what the experience is going to be like. So there's a few things that you may want to know. I'm going to sort of head off the basic questions because I get these asked a lot. Things to know about going on safari. They're generally not physically strenuous. Now, sometimes you'll go on a walking safari, but generally, you just need to be able to walk without assistance. You don't even have to take heavy boots because usually a good tennis shoes, I like to take closed toe shoes myself because I want to keep my feet clean. And I sometimes want to walk in areas that, it could have some brambles or something a little rough. You want to pay attention to your medical situation, visit with your doctor, get up to date on your shots. The CDC or a travel doctor can advise you. Anti-malaria medication is usually advised. And of course, there's no drugstores out there. So you need to bring your own stuff, including a first aid kit. Although we'll have that too. And I'm sure that Kensington carries those. You only use bottled water for drinking and brushing your teeth, and water is provided on the trip. By the way, the food on these trips, and especially the places that Kensington has selected, is wonderful. It's going to have a lot of variety. You'll have a good choice. If you have a special menu requirement, they can accommodate that. But you're going to have a lot of interesting food and a lot of fun with that. We're going to pack fairly light. we need to pack probably around 32 pounds, even a little less than 35 pounds, all total, because of the flight that we're going to take. Also, we only use soft-sided bags because they pack better in the back of the safari vehicles and on the plane. And there's laundry service in most of these camps. So it's nothing that you can't, launder while you're there. Generally only takes 3 or 5 changes of clothing, even if you're gone for 12 days. And I stick with the basic tans and grays. It's not a fashion show, so don't worry about wearing bright colors or fancy shoes. The weather can get cool. So I suggest you dress in layers. I usually bring a sweater or a fleece, as well as a shell, a waterproof shell. And that combination and my basic shirt, I can get along with almost any time of the day, almost any time of the year. The camps have some cell coverage and Wi-Fi, but I urge you not to stay on your phone while you're there. It's okay to check in maybe at the end of the day, but it's much more fun just to be there and to sort of unplug and enjoy the experience. You need to have up-to-date, obviously, passports and visas, as Santai mentioned. The voltage over there is 220 to 240 volts AC. And there are usually the rectangular plugs, like the UK, will get specific advice from Santai, but this is what I've used in the past. You can see the plug on the right side of that screen. And with digital, you want to bring extra batteries and memory cards for your cameras. So we can pause now and see if there's any questions. In fact, Beth, maybe I'll turn it back to you and see if there's anything that you'd like to mention. You can see my email there. You can go to my website, huffmanphotowalk.com, use the contact page to get a hold of me. And I certainly hope we'll see you on tour.
Okay.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Santai. They were both wonderful presentations. And let's see, I only have one other screen, so but let me just let me go there. So what questions have all of you got for us? Does anybody have any questions at all?
Sure, I have a question. Is there a particular date that you're talking about for this trip, or is this just an open trip that there are multiple days we could go?
I believe that we were looking at October of 2023.
That's right.
So it's one trip, is that what we're talking about tonight?
We are talking about one specific trip, yes.
Yeah, the date we had targeted, I believe, was the 12th.
Yeah.
Of
I
October.
believe so.
And we picked that time of year because of the weather, and although the temperatures get a little warmer in their summer, a little cooler in their winter, but you also have to pay some attention to the rainy season. So we're trying to pick a season where we think it's going to be comfortable and easy to get around, and possibly not quite so dusty as it is in the middle of summer.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I have another if nobody else does.
Okay.
I know you're talking about this trip as a photography trip. Dave's going to be there. Will it be appropriate for non-photographers who just want to go on African safari?
Absolutely. Anybody who wants to go is welcome to join the group. And if you do take pictures, you will have David there to be able to help you. But I mean, we would love to have anybody who wants to go. And I think also Kim had a question.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay, did you have a question, Kim?
You need to wear Any masses?
You're going to be in open air. I don't know that you do, but maybe Santai can address masks.
Okay.
They're not mandatory at the moment, so they're optional. If you want to wear, in terms of like, I'm guessing in terms of COVID you're talking about, but in terms of just general wearing masks, then that is like optional to keep bags away or bad smell. I've seen people wear some mask, but it is not mandatory at the moment.
Okay.
The
We
trips
also
I've been,
have Sherry. Sherry is on here, but she's muted and off camera. And I was wondering if Sherry had any questions.
I do. I missed the beginning of the first 10 minutes. Is this trip, does this include our international flight? It's
No.
with it, or is that something that we have to do separate?
Yes, the international flight is not included in the price, but we can get that bundled in for you, or you can handle your own air. A lot of people have points and things like that and like to handle their own air for that reason, because, you know, some people are able to fly for basically nothing. But if you do need to have it handled, we can take care of that for you as well.
Okay, thank
Do you
you.
have, I know you can't give an exact, but do you have any estimate of what air from the East Coast of the US would be?
Right now, I don't. Air has been a little bit unpredictable, as I'm sure you know. So if you decide that you are serious and you want to go, then we can take a look at what airfare is right now, going from whatever your hub is, whatever your airport is. I can look into that and see what it might be, if that's of help.
sure. In fact, this is probably a good time just to mention that the way to get more specific about all of these things is to look at the slide that Beth has up here and contact her either via email or set a time on her calendar using that Calendly Book Another Cruise website, so that then you can get your specific questions answered. We anticipate fully that there's going to be a lot of questions. This is a once in a lifetime experience. And I also want to stress that, as you can tell from the discussion of Santai, this is a top of the line trip. I have long been a proponent of not trying to do a budget trip for something like a safari in Kenya and Tanzania or anywhere in Africa, because you don't know what can go wrong. And with someone like Kensington backing you up, we know we're going to have great people on the ground with us, helping us. All of their connections are very current. It's going to be an experience that is pretty much guaranteed to give you an exceptional type of memory that you wouldn't necessarily get from a more budget oriented.
Right. This is a custom put together tour. We worked together with Kensington, David and I did, to come up with, based on his prior experience, what we believe is going to be a fantastic tour in Africa, hitting very prime spots and seeing wonderful things. And the accommodations that Kensington uses are fantastic. You know, he's procured the best for this tour. So this is really a bucket list kind of event for most people, you know, and they want to do it right. There's, you know, you can do a shorter one and see a couple of things, and then you're out of Africa. And yeah, you've been to Africa, but you haven't really been in Africa. You've been to it, maybe not in it. This tour is designed to immerse you in Africa, going to very specific locations, UNESCO World Heritage Sites, seeing animals during their migration. And, you know, it just doesn't get much better than this. Kensington is the very top of all of the tour operators that our franchise works with. That's why we chose to partner with Kensington on this safari. So Unless there are any other questions, does anybody else, getting really good questions, does anybody else have questions?
What is the time frame on this getting booked and deposits and stuff like that?
It's always better to book in advance, rather than wait. So we are taking bookings at this time for this. And yeah, I wouldn't wait because, prices are subject to change. And Kensington has graciously put this together for us, but their prices are based also on the partners that they're working with and all of those lodges and accommodations. So we kind of need to get these booked, I would say try within about 30 days to deposit, if possible. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, Sherry, you had come in late. We are recording this and it will be available on YouTube. If you didn't provide your information when you registered for the Zoom, I would reach out to me on the email address that's up on the screen and give me your name, your address, your phone and email address. And I will make sure that I get you the link to the Zoom so you'll have it in its entirety.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I also have produced a video, and that video is on YouTube. And if you'd like to see it, you can find it. It's been posted on our Facebook groups, or contact me and I'll send you a link to it. It covers this specific safari with the locations, some of the same information that Santai mentioned, and it goes through a little more detail on the photo side.
David, I have a question for you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I will be coming for photography and to take pictures. I know that we have we need to pack light. How does that affect our camera gear? Is that a separate carry-in is that included in the 32 or 35 pounds?
Yes, that's included. That's included.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as, I will probably get a bigger lens, but can you rent them in Africa? Or do I need to rent one here and carry it with me?
You would rent it here and bring it with you. That's the safest way. Plus, you want to get a little familiar with it, so you want to have it for a couple of days and
Okay.
become accustomed to it. Why don't you contact me through my contact page, and we can get right to the point for you. Okay.
Okay.
Just so you know, even when I travel there, my photo equipment is about it's about 17 or 18 pounds, including the backpack that I carried in. So there's still a lot of room for, I only typically take 4 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, underwear, socks, 2 pairs of shoes. Like I said, it's not a fashion show, so I can always get away with 30 pounds or less.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, look forward to hearing from you.
All righty.
How big a group will this be?
This group, we are aiming at, is it 5?
Well, we actually have discussed that we can handle from 6 to 10 in the group. The reason why it's variable is that there are some fixed costs, like the safari vehicles, and we don't want to overpack the safari vehicles. We want to have people have room to move around and photograph from the top or from both sides of the windows. So we typically don't fully pack with the same number of seats with the same number of people in these safari vehicles to have a better experience. But we do have kind of a fixed cost. So it depends how many people we get. If we get up to 6 or 8 people, then we would probably end up with 3 vehicles, for example, as opposed to 2. So that changes the costing just a little bit. But we'll make all that very transparent and very clear to you as things progress.
Right, but to fill that first vehicle, we need to have 5 other than David. So because he would be the 6th, and the bus that they showed or Jeep handles 6 passengers and 1 for the driver. And then if the luggage space in the back on some of the vehicles is removed, then sometimes you could get a couple more in there. But as David mentioned, the whole idea is to be able to allow the people who do have cameras that they want to shoot with to be able to have them to be able to move around so that they can, when they see something, they can get to it and point and shoot the way that they need to. So we're trying not to put, extra people like away from the luggage in the back, get 2 extra in. We're trying to stick to the seat number or so, and not overcrowd the vehicles.
Okay.
Sentai, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, you guys, you've mentioned everything that we need to mention now. And just like the luggage should not worry people too much. There's kind of a small way to get around that, but well, we can get to that another day.
Okay. Good to know that there's a way around it. I'm curious about what that is. But does anybody else have any questions? Ralph or Sherry, anything we can answer for you?
I think that's it for now.
Okay, very good. Well, I would like to thank Sentai and David both for joining us tonight and doing a wonderful job of presenting here. And this video will be available on YouTube, as I said, and that will give me 24 hours to get it up there. I will work on that first thing tomorrow. So thank you all for coming and have a wonderful evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.